Hello, Morrison Heights family. I miss you guys. So today I'm going to be doing the devotion. I'm going to be reading out of John 2. The story is from John 2, 1 to 12, but I'm just going to be skipping around and reading some verses since we don't have a lot of time. So starting in verse 2, Jesus was invited to the wedding with his disciples. When the wine ran out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And skipping down to 7, Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water," and they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast." So they took it. So this was the first recorded miracle of Jesus, and I think that this being the first recorded miracle, we have a lot that we could learn from this story. So to give some context, I have often read this previously and wondered, what's the big deal about running out of wine? Like, get over it. It's not that big of a deal. But in this time, this was a huge social mistake. So in that time, it was a failure of hospitality. And honestly, it was a failure to meet a social expectation. And the guests would not forget this as long as they were married, most likely. So in this story, we see two main portrayals of faith. Number one, we see Mary. The mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." So Mary sees a problem and immediately she takes it to Jesus. When she could have taken it to many other people, she could have taken it to the groom or the bride, or she could have taken it to the master of the feast, or she could have taken it to anyone else. She took it to Jesus immediately. Secondly, we see faith in the servants. So first, Jesus asks the servants to fill the jars with water, and immediately they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast." So they took it. So not only do we see obedience, but we also see faith. Taking it to the master of the feast. Can you imagine if they brought it to the master of the feast and it was water? It was not wine. Like, imagine the humiliation that comes with that, or honestly, just that would be not only humiliating, but also shameful in that culture. So nonetheless, they still obeyed Jesus in faith and not knowing the complete outcome of the situation. So I think that these two portrayals of faith show us and can teach us so much from that. I think that that's the beauty of faith. God asks us to be obedient, often having faith blindly, often just trusting the faithfulness of God and how he's proven himself previously, but we don't know the outcome of the situation. So whether he asks you to something as extreme as moving across the world to become a missionary, or whether he asks you to share the gospel with your neighbor or your friend that you've been friends with a long time and you're really scared of how they're going to respond, or whether he asks you to lead a small group and you have no experience and that's not your personality. Like, I totally get it. Me too. But are you going to trust God and that he will provide what you need for that? And even though you don't know the outcome, like, it might fail, but are you going to be obedient to what God has called you to and have an act of faithfulness like Mary did? Are you going to bring your concerns and your worries and your problems to Christ? And are you going to be obedient like the servants? Yeah, so I would just really encourage you guys to evaluate what is God asking you to do and how can you be obedient to that during this time of quarantine, and also next year, and thinking about next year and this summer. And are you going to have faith and be obedient to what he is calling you to do? So that's all I have today, but thank you guys for listening, and I miss you guys, and I hope that you're having a great quarantine and really pressing into what God has during this time. Thank you.